So, Meet Joe Black is interesting. I mean, as a premise, it's interesting. So, I honestly have no idea why. It was apparently, I read momentarily, box office bomb. Seems like people only like, yeah, it's just, conventional, uh, repeatable nonsense. I don't know. I mean, just like I mean, it has the demeanor almost of a well, either a romantic comedy or a rom com possibly, but it doesn't really go in any direction, really, and that's what's interesting about it. Whereas, for example, it's obviously mostly comparable to City of Angels, but that's with an angel, of course, but kind of similar, very similar functions and all. I believe it was released around the same time. Um, the difference being that that was entirely a romantic drama, and this was different genres, which is what I like better about it. But it doesn't quite consistently do that forever. That's the problem, really. I mean, at the beginning there was romance, and there was some business, then there was some comedy with the peanut butter thing and all, and I like that. But then suddenly the comedy doesn't remain there anymore. There's obviously much more business, much more romance, so it becomes slightly conventional there in that sense, like many other dramas. It just it doesn't remain a rom-com or anything, which isn't a bad thing or anything. Rom-coms tend to be very conventional, but I like the type of comedy it had. It didn't quite make it a rom-com or anything. Obviously I still like the concept, but they haven't really done much with it. They just played around with business affairs and all. I mean, I liked the description that he gave him when he asked the questioner, what's happening elsewhere, what are you doing while you are here, which is funny because that's exactly what I thought as well before he actually asked it, which is a sensible question. Bizarrely enough, I even thought at the beginning, when his supposed daughter said, if food is pros, then what was the second point? I forgot. Well, the point that began with like that, and yeah, I thought that I liked it, and then suddenly she says I liked it as well. Of course, it's a very common phrase, but slightly strange. Well, yeah, strange to say that I like it. If you've just simply said something yourself, you don't normally say that as a third party viewer. It's of course much more normal, I assume, for me to anyway. I'm just saying. So yeah, it didn't begin spectacularly. I mean, the perfect birthday is really not really very interesting. Obviously, he as he described it there, my damn party. So yeah, it's not really, and she is all obsessed. I mean, she starts to cry about it. It's a bit ridiculous, Nobody, I'm assuming, they don't expect the audience to share any similar feelings over a stupid party. But yeah, otherwise it's still an interesting premise. It just goes a bit too much, all about romance and such. But it still is an interesting premise. Also, you know, yeah, his character, that is, what's he called again for some reason? Well, the character of William Parrish, at any rate, for some reason I forgot the actor's name. Not that I haven't. I mean, I'm not familiar with him. But anyway, the point is, he shouts a lot. I mean, yeah, it's understandable in such a situation. Oh, you're going to die. So no, here I am talking with you. I'm the one who takes you. So yeah, I guess you could. In a movie though, it's really annoying when people shout. Generally, no matter. Well, I guess it does depend on the context, I suppose. But yeah, just shouting, "I don't care if you love him," is just annoying and awful, obviously. And this is what makes me think less of this movie. Really, it had better potential, but somehow just yeah. And yeah, I finished watching it. It's a huge movie. Yeah, absolutely massive. And so this is the thing. I mean, it's not like I mean, obviously, if a movie does have a lot to say, and it really cannot have anything, but movies are already heavily edited anyway. So they say that clearly, nearly 3 hours is somehow worth it. The problem is that just um it did have a lot of sort of extraneous stuff. One cannot say that the. I'm not saying the business matters should have taken off all the romantic aspects necessarily. It did have a bit too much, but it sort of made sense in the end as to why it was there. Um, but what could have been a bit less is the fireworks type. This, of scenes. I mean, I don't know. They really went a bit too much with them. They just, all I could think of is ham-fisted. I mean, they really just went all in, didn't they, with their fireworks, literally, and everything else. In addition, like literally everything that so-called Ellison liked doing. Yeah. In other words, the fact that they chose to use that mansion, etc., to do this with, it just didn't seem to like everything else was perfectly interesting. You know, that does that need to be there though? I mean, yeah, great. He was a founder of whatever. They really made him have a perfect life, but just you know I don't know, just all the extraneous stuff though really made me think, yeah, this might be a bit too much. Flowery, literally, all the flowers and everything, literally, because it did have interesting stuff, it certainly did. But when it comes to just just having interesting stuff in movies, you know, sometimes you just end up with a lot of just like you could have the same story except set anywhere else. It's not like having a full life doesn't mean you founded a company and somehow you reinstated as its director, whatever he was, just before it all ends, and it's just a bit too much. Not like I didn't. Not I'm not saying I didn't like that one bit there. In terms of what happened, I mean, it didn't have much comedy apart from the beginning and the peanut butter thing throughout. But what it did have was interesting. Certainly much more comic than most so-called comedies usually have. It still didn't have much, but it was quite funny. I am. I was thinking, if he literally says, if it ends with, oh, I am death, that would be, yeah, I mean, that would be sort of ham-fisted. But no, I am an IRS agent, yeah, brilliant delivery. Incidentally, I noticed comedy isn't one of the genres here, but it certainly is an element of it, like, maybe 20% of it. Yeah, not exactly the majority, but otherwise, it is quite similar to City of Angels. But similarly, even that movie was ham-fisted, particularly with regards to the melodrama. There was a lot of it over there. With regards to here, there was a lot of ostentatious nonsense. Garish nonsense. In other words, and garish, in my opinion, doesn't translate perfectly well to a good movie. But otherwise, I still like most of it. It's above average in my opinion. Just not like the last Pitt movie I've watched. Not that I watch. I'm not watching by actors ever. I usually don't, not intentionally at least. And but I'm just saying, the last one I watched was Benjamin Button, which obviously was made way after. I think what, like 2 decades after. But you see, you see, just as a comparison, though, I like that a lot more, you could say. Although I like this still, but I like that at any rate much more than I liked most movies I've seen recently. In fact, I think I liked it more than any movie I've commented on, at least. I did rate others similarly to Benjamin Button in the past, but long ago. Anyway, the point is, if one must compare, um, Benjamin Button was more about being humble at the very least. This didn't seem to indicate that at all. This is the problem, you know. In fact, it was the opposite. Like, there was something, there was a certain, well, getting acquainted with it, getting feeling like this is the right moment and such, and it would be sort of interesting, I guess, if people could really have this sort of thing, where, oh, okay, well, I just go exactly when I feel like going. Like, I guess, he didn't try to ask him for, like, I guess he sort of did several times throughout the movie, I suppose. Yeah, he, make an exception or something. But yeah, ultimately he accepted it. So, in terms of that, though, it's very interesting. The meta commentary, just like with City of Angels, the meta commentary is incredibly interesting. I love these sort of movies, honestly. They are fundamentally philosophical movies. I like them, but they have their faults as movies. Melodrama, City of Angels. Quite melodramatic. More on that elsewhere. With regards to this, didn't have as much melodrama, but it had a lot of garish stuff. That's the problem, garish. Yeah, that's the that's the thing. When it comes to garish, what's the point of having so much garish stuff? Like, seriously, like, it was such a huge birthday party, and besides fireworks, there was some things over the ocean as well. Like, what the hell were those even? Did they try to make a swan out of the world or something? That didn't make any sense. Well, on the other hand, if one must compare, Benjamin Button was so much more. Literally, you know, difference being between. I mean, a mention doesn't translate into a good movie. I don't know why they thought a mention is a good movie. It never does. Um, it's kind of like as well for weddings and a funeral. Not like I'm comparing them. That's exclusively a rom-com, but it's not like the script wasn't necessarily not funny, and it was at least intelligent, but it was garish as well. What's the point of, oh great, just put in as many baubles as possible? That will sort it out. No, it really doesn't sort it out in my mind, and I preferred Benjamin Button. Not just because it was set in a nursing home, not just because, and it was similarly philosophical, etc. But I don't know, it just worked. But in my opinion, it resonated more. It was much more. I mean, the ending specifically, I absolutely loved with that as well. Here, the ending was okay. Yeah, it wasn't bad. It was above average, but it wasn't just. It didn't blow me away like Benjamin Button did at the end. I'm just saying, it didn't. But it's still. It was still fairly interesting. And I'm just saying that even how long has it been now? 23 years since this movie. He was supposedly 65 there. I'm not sure if Anthony Hopkins, the name that eluded me earlier, if he actually was 65 there. Let's see. So that would be. No, I think he was 60. Yeah, he was 60 there. Um. So yeah, he's 83 now. Joe Black still hasn't visited him, but sadly, I think he might soon. No, as much as far as this goes. So honestly, as far as this goes, I liked how it happened, how the whole thing, like, I've seen many adaptations. What do you call them? Like, death in fiction, right? I've seen many of them, and this was unconventional personification. That's the word I was looking for. This was unconventional. Um, so in this way, yeah, I like. I mean, I could have easily rated it a 7 if only it didn't have all the bubbles. That's the thing that took just ruined it just a bit for me. Yeah, it didn't ruin it, thoroughly, but um, just had way too much. Like, even Benjamin Button inherited something, but then he didn't just go like, "Yay, let's live in a mansion suddenly and just pimp my life out," or whatever they say. You know what I mean? Very much remains, very much, I'm not necessarily comparing it just because it's the same actor, but it is similarly a philosophical movie, and it was tackled from a different direction, though. In a way, though, funnily enough as well, it was sort of the opposite of The Great Gatsby, because that was written by the same author as Benjamin Button, and that's also one of the reasons why I didn't like The Great Gatsby. Honestly, it's just, well, what is the point of all this? And then just some sort of, I don't know. I also don't know why it's so popular. I really disliked it. It seems so. I watched it though years ago before I started to commentate, so I don't quite have a commentary on it. I did actually watch it. Anyway, The Great Gatsby is nothing. I don't know how it's supposed to be about. Some sort of rivalry, jealousy, whatever. I don't know, whatever. No, I very much liked Benjamin Button way more, and I liked Meet Joe Belloc. Except it would have been better if it didn't have all the baubles. Is all I'm saying, really, pretty much. It is weird how the director stopped directing since 2003. It seems like this was his penultimate movie. After that, he directed just one more, and that's it. Not sure how that happens, like, you're just going to direct one here, there, and he's been directing since '77. But somehow he only in three decades, pretty much. He did very, very little. Somehow one of them is Beverly Hills Cop. I'm not sure what it's got to do with anything, but yeah, I've never seen any of his before. I think. I don't know. I've seen Beverly Hills. There's some stupid comedies in it, I think. Anyway, yeah. I don't think I've seen anything then. I'm not sure. So I'm just saying, it would have been better without the bubbles. I did like everything else, though. The bit of comedy, the meta commentary, the philosophy. Yeah, I pretty much liked all that.